Hey everybody, Steve here at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia, just right across the bridge from the White House. I mean, you can walk to the White House from here. It's about 3 miles. I mean, it's really not that far at all. And I actually feel like I've walked a lot more than 3 miles. I've been here for 6-7 hours. I have been walking since I got here. I haven't sat down the entire day. Haven't had anything to eat, so maybe I'm a little cranky, but I have to say I was really looking forward to my visit here to Arlington Cemetery. It's been 40 years since my last visit, and I had a list of 24 graves that I really wanted to see, and I have to say I'm disappointed in my visit today. And I'll explain why. I mean, I'm sure it's just me, but I wanted to tell you my experience, so maybe you can avoid the same situation. So I got here right when they opened at 8 o'clock and got a good parking spot. That was great. And I don't know if you can hear, but it's starting to rain now. So the first thing that was kind of a negative for me is the weather. I don't really like it when it's gloomy and dark, especially when you're photographing and filming. The light quality is usually not very good. So I was a little bummed about that because I've been on this road trip now for more than 2 weeks and I've had almost perfect weather the whole time. And since Arlington was probably my #1 cemetery that I wanted to visit, I definitely was disappointed when it was gloomy, ugly weather. And as you can see right now, it's raining. I just got back in my car a minute ago, and I thought I have to come back and get something to eat out of my car because I'm starving. And that was the other problem. I didn't really bring any snacks or any food with me, and I'm so used to visiting cemeteries where you just drive through the cemetery, especially really large cemeteries like this one. I mean, this is humongous. I mean, so much larger than I ever imagined. And one of the graves that I wanted to see was all the way as far as you could possibly walk, and it took me forever to find it, and it's very hilly, and I'd already been walking for 3 or 4 hours, and so I finally got there, and then I had a really difficult time finding my way back, and then I realized I forgot my water, didn't have anything to eat, started getting cranky, so I thought, God, I'm probably going to pass out here from dehydration, walking all day. I mean, they did have a couple of water fountains around. A couple were working, a couple weren't working. Luckily, a couple were. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have passed out. So I really love the fact that there's lots and lots of people visiting grave sites. I think that's wonderful. We don't have that in California. Not that many people in California like to visit grave sites, but back here on the East Coast and Midwest, it's very historic. The cemetery is very historic, and people really enjoy visiting cemeteries. Arlington is one of the most visited cemeteries in the country, if not the most visited. And I guess that's a double-edged sword, really, because I had such a difficult time at some of the graves, even getting a photo or even taking a video, because there were hundreds, sometimes thousands of people standing in front of the grave. So it was very, very difficult. I try not to film people as much as possible, maybe from the back, but I try not to get people in my videos, but it was just impossible to avoid. So that slowed me down, which was fine. I just wanted to leisurely spend the entire day here. But what I didn't realize is when you can't drive around an enormous cemetery like this, even if you have a map, even if you have GPS, even if you kind of know where you're going, it still takes forever to walk from one grave to the other. I've been here, like I say, almost the entire day, and I only got to see a handful of the graves that were on my list. So I'm really disappointed about that. I did get to visit the 2 presidents who were laid to rest here, and I guess at least it's raining now and not when I first got here, because that's when I first went to their grave sites. I visited their 2 grave sites first, and if I hadn't, then I really would have been disappointed. And when I got here, one of the guards or someone was saying, we were talking about the weather, and he asked me, if I'd been here before, and then I said, something about being so ugly. He goes, well, yeah, yesterday was absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. I was like, oh, great, thanks for sharing that with me. And it was, because I was not far from here at Mount Vernon, and it was a beautiful day, and that was a beautiful experience. So, I know there's going to be rain sometimes and clouds, and that's just the way it goes. So I'm not overly disappointed about that. But so it was nice to be back. And it was nice to visit how many grave sites did I visit? Like 4 or 5? Yeah, I think maybe only 5 grave sites out of, I think I had 25 on my list that were must see. And then I had another at least dozen that were I'd like to see. So very disappointing. I was thinking maybe I should have taken the tour. They have this bus that you can hop on and hop off. It was only $15. But I thought, well, I love to walk and I need to walk. I've been sitting and driving for the last 2 weeks in my car. So so I wanted to walk, not realizing just how enormous this is. So tip for you, even if you do like to walk, if you have more than just a couple of graves you want to see here, go ahead and take that little shuttle bus. Now, they said you could hop on and hop off anytime, but to be honest, I only saw it go around where I was walking, I think once, maybe twice. So I'm not sure in the area where I was if you could even hop on or hop off. So I think there's like a certain area where all the famous graves that most people come to see are located, and those are actually fairly close to each other. Then I think the ones that I wanted to visit were out in the middle of nowhere, and that was part of the problem. It just took me forever. Then I also discovered two of the graves that were supposed to be right here near the front. I thought, and I missed them. I thought, oh good, I'll see them before I leave. Well, the GPS was incorrect, so I couldn't find them either. I guess I could have gone to their Find a Grave Memorial page and looked at the section they were in, since the GPS was wrong. But again, not having anything to drink, feeling like I was going to pass out, not having eaten anything all day, and having walked now for the last 6 hours, a little exhausted, a little cranky. So definitely take the shuttle bus if you can. Even if you can only hop on and off a few times, I would definitely recommend that. I think one of the things that surprised me the most here is how many security officers they have here. We're talking probably 100, maybe a couple hundred. I mean, they're everywhere, and I guess that's good, but I just wasn't expecting that. And maybe because it is Washington DC, or right across the river, it's Arlington National Cemetery. It was like going through an airport security check. I mean, you had to take out your wallet, your keys, your phone, and put them in one of the little baskets that goes through the x-ray machine, and of course any backpacks and things. I'm glad I came for sure, if only to visit the grave sites of the two presidents. So hopefully this has been a little bit helpful. Just know that, at least for me, I think I would need to visit the cemetery at least a half a dozen times to visit all the grave sites that I want to. And maybe in those half a dozen times, maybe I would get a nice day or two. It's raining way too hard to be walking for miles and miles and miles trying to find a grave and then trying to film it while holding onto an umbrella. I've tried that before. It doesn't work so well. So I guess I'm going to call it a day for my visit to Arlington Cemetery. I've been rained out, but overall, I'm definitely glad I came. And it was a nice visit. Not as nice as I was hoping, but I'm definitely glad I came, and I would definitely do it again. This week I want to give a shout out and a very big thank you to my newest channel supporters, Mitchell and Rachel M., Janet McGuffey, and Dana Pretzer. Thank you all so much for your extra generous donations using YouTube Super Thanks. They really mean a lot and are very appreciated. I also appreciate all of you who have taken the time to subscribe. Thanks for joining me on another historic road trip to the past. And until our next visit to the cemetery together, thanks for sharing the memories, everybody.